Oh, where am I going? Why am I always searching? Why am I always stuck in this endless sky? I gotta really get better at these intros, but they're working for now. So, what's up, everyone? It's your boy Matt Diazbo coming at you with a new music review. Thank you for coming on by. I appreciate it. You the best. Yeah. Today, I am checking out the latest release from a band called Fleshwater with their latest album called 2000 in Search of the Endless Sky. If you've been to my channel before, you'll know that I covered this band before. And if you don't know anything about this band, Fleshwater is an alternative, shoegazy, alt rock band that started back in 2017 as a side project to the band Vane out in Massachusetts. So I think, if I'm correct, about 3 members from Vane are working in this project as well. And they have been making a lot of noise in the alternative world as the past couple of years. People have been, I won't say comparing them, but if you're like a fan of Deftones, the band Nothing, there's going to be some overlap with you liking that band and probably Fleshwater. And they've been after their debut, they got some traction with their demo, their EP, and then their debut. We are not supposed to be loved. Can't remember the title, but it's something like that. But personally, one of my favorite albums I've heard in a good while, and it was a very amazing album. They put a great debut, so there was a lot of hype behind them for this newest album to come out, because it's been like maybe 3 years since that debut. So they've been just building things up by touring. They went on tour with Deftones. They're becoming bigger and bigger on festivals and on tours. So they've been making a lot of noise for them, and I'm really happy I got to see them live in Japan. I think in 2023 November, I want to say. Really great performance, great band members and everything. It's really cool meeting them and everything. So really excited to check out this latest album from them. And with their debut album, I think they made a name for themselves because they had some really short, infectious bursts of shoegazy alt rock music with that debut. Songs on that album felt very raw and very immediate, but still kind of floated in this weird haze of distortion and reverb. And I would say that album in particular really thrived on urgency, because like none of the songs ever really overstayed their welcome. Every new track on that album just punched so fast, and there was just this really nice quickness to it that just made you want to listen to it over and over. And with 2000 in Search of the Endless Sky, Fleshwater has gone the complete opposite direction. This is a longer, slow burning of a record where the band is stretching out their songwriting into bigger frames and more experimental sounds with textures that weren't really explored on their debut album. I would say the results are, it's very both impressive in scope, but also a little bit uneven in execution. What's very immediately clear with this record is, Fleshwater is leaning really hard into building atmosphere. Because the opening song here, Drowning Song, opens the record not with like a punch or a very intense opening. It's more of a slow wash of tambourines and creeping guitars. And their main vocalist, Marissa, her vocals, they're still quite haunting, and they are the very centerpiece of the band, alternating between, angelic distance, but also having very raw closeness as well. And the way everything is layered, there's a lot of hints of like the band's previous work on here, but it feels like it has a bit of a greater or grand ambitiousness to it. And yet a lot of this record, I feel like it feels like, echoes of their debut album without really being a reinvention. It feels like a lot of these songs feel like leftover songs that were on the cutting floor rather than, new like statements and new songs altogether. But I will say, when the band lets themselves get a little bit heavier, their results are a little bit more striking. Like the song Green Street, it pushes things a little bit faster with grungier guitars, dynamic style drumming that just hits with almost like I would say a 90s alternative rock intensity. The bass is groovier on this track, and the overall songwriting does feel bigger, and it feels like the band is really trying to push past the walls of their established sound by making things sound larger. And that same drive fuels one of the biggest songs on this record, which is Jetpack, which pairs Marissa's more soaring high vocals with Anthony's contrasting male vocals in one of the album's most immediate and probably well-produced moments on the record. And it's here where, you know, Fleshwater's attempt to expand on their established sound actually lands, because the production is crispier. The push and pull between the vocals feels very natural. And the song bursts with so much life and recalls the urgency of their debut album, while also finding new ground to push their sound further. Elsewhere on the album, there's some experimentation that is a little bit more mixed. And a prime example of that is the song Last Escape, where they toy with some like indie style twingy guitars with synth textures and a very complex drum pattern before it breaks down between some like stripped down vocals and some bass driven and vocal moments here. It's an ambitious song, but it doesn't always feel fully fleshed out. Be Your Best and Silverline really lean into some slow burn despair, which are carried entirely by Marissa's vocals and some very introspective lyrics. These songs are beautifully performed, I'll give them that, but their washed out backdrop kind of blurs in the background a little bit, making it feel more like, you know, not a fully like realized song, and just more of like an outline and a sketch of a song where it could have gone. But nonetheless, Fleshwater still surprises you on this record with like songs like Germontown, where it's a little bit more adventurous with this particular song. Flirting with like more mathcore elements and this weird like stop, go, push and pull of riffing. They got some really crunchier guitar tones here before settling into Anthony's like more distorted vocals and, you know, a mix of aggression and softness. And on this song, Marissa kind of occasionally appears here and there, and it adds a nice light to the like grittiness of the song. And I gotta say, the interplay between the two of them here is probably one of the album's most stronger dynamics. With the song Sundown, the band kind of stripped things down to the core, just, you know, having some vocals and some really heavy reverb guitars before the band just all swells in, showing how effective simplicity can be when all the haze clears. And then you have the song Raging Storm, reminds us, you know, what the band's strongest mode can be, and that is fast, raw, and emotionally charged, with Marissa's layered vocals cutting through the chaos, with the drums just being locked in and being very tight. It's one of the shorter tracks on this record, and it also is possibly one of the most effective songs on this album. So it's also a good reminder of like Fleshwater often works really well when things are a little bit shorter and they can keep things more cohesive. And the closing song, Endless Sky, does a really good job of encapsulating both, you know, the band's current strengths and weaknesses for this record as a whole. Grungy riffs and very crystal clear vocal performances and great energy and clarity, but the song never really quite reaches, you know, that cathartic heights and, you know, just that expectation, you know, from Fleshwater from like their previous work. It's like, it's good, but it's never really mind-blowing. And just like most of this album, it's a strong moment for sure, because, you know, it's carried by Marissa's very distinctive, strong vocals and a very polished production from the band overall, but it really doesn't capture that explosive immediacy this band has had before. And it just, you know, it just sits at, it's good. It's not mind-blowing. It's not amazing. And so I would say if the first Fleshwater album was lightning in a bottle, this album, 2000, In Search of the Endless Sky, is about letting that lightning out, spreading it out, letting it crack, letting it wander, letting it explore the world. It's expansive, it's atmospheric, and it's a little bit more deliberate, but it's a little also, I would say, less consistently gripping. For every Green Street or Jetpack that breaks some new ground with this record, there are slower, more murkier tracks that linger without ever really quite landing. But still, I gotta say, the ambition is all here. The willingness to expand on their sound, experiment with vocal layering, and just push it into like longer songwriting structures. I gotta give them credit to that. It might not be as explosive as their debut album, but it suggests that the band is willing to risk, you know, unevenness to grow as a band. So this latest album, 2000, In Search of the Endless Sky, might not fully reach the horizon that it's reaching for, but it proves that Fleshwater is, you know, they aren't just standing still. They aren't just like, we're gonna redo things, you know, they're gonna branch out a little bit and experiment. So mad respect to that, because that's not an easy thing to do. You could always just stay in one lane and just be comfortable, or you can shake things up. So they're trying to shake things up a little bit here. They're still searching, they're still stretching, and that search alone is like more than enough a good reason to listen to this record. So this latest album from Fleshwater, 2000, In Search of the Endless Sky, I would have to give it an okay to decent 7.5 out of 10. Links down below. Tell me what you think about this band. What are some other shoegaze alt bands that I should check out, or that you really enjoy? And until next time, if they come by, go watch Fleshwater. They're really cool to watch. But until next time, guys, see you in the pit. Good things about you.